Hi guys, let's do find the difference. So we're given two strings called s and t, and they tell us that string t is generated by random shuffling string s, and then adding one more letter at a random position. And they want us to return the letter that was added to t. So in example 1, we're given s equals the string and t equals the string, and then we would output e because e is the letter that was added here. So the rest of the string contains the same letters, but it could be in any order, right? Because remember they say it's random shuffling. This one just happens to be in the same order. In example 2, we're given s equals an empty string and t equals just the character y, and then we would output y because that was the additional character that was added. So in this case, we can just go through, iterate through one of the strings. So we can pick like s, for example, and then add each of the characters and its frequency into a hash map. And then we can just do another loop through t and delete characters as we encounter them in the hash map, or like decrement the frequency, I mean. And then that way, whichever one is left in the hash map at the very end, that will be the extra character. So, or it might not even be at the end, because it could be in the middle, right? This one just happens to be at the end. But we'll just check if the hash map contains it or not, and then that's how we'll see. So let's start by initializing our hash map. So we'll say map, and then we'll map character to integer, because we're mapping it to the frequency. Map equals new hash map. And then we'll just loop through string s. So for I equals 0, I is less than s dot length, I plus plus. We'll say char c equals s dot char at I. And then we'll go ahead and add that character into our map. So map dot put c and map dot get or default c 0 plus 1. So this will give us the frequencies. And then that's going to populate our map. So then once we have that, we can loop through our string t. So for I is 0, I is less than t dot length, I plus plus, same thing. So we'll set character c to t dot char at I. And then we'll check if our map contains that key or not. So if it doesn't contain that key, or I mean the character, then we'll know that that was the extra one that was added. So if map dot contains key, so if it doesn't contain this character, then we'll go ahead and return that character, because that means that that was the extra one if it's not in our map. And then otherwise, then it does contain it, so we'll just go ahead and remove one instance of it from our map. So we'll say map.get, or no, map.put the character, and then map.get c minus 1. So this is gonna take whatever the character was and then decrement the frequency by 1. So then if it reaches 0, then we're just going to want to remove the key entirely. So we'll just add a check for that as well. So if map.getC is 0, then we'll just remove it. And then at the very end, like if we get to the end, there will always be an extra letter. So this will never really be a concern. But just to not have compiler errors, I'll just say return an empty character at the end. But like we'll always end up returning C in here, so like we'll never even actually reach here, but like just so it doesn't like flag it, you know what I mean? Okay. And then our time complexity. So we have two different loops here. One is looping through S and adding each character into our map with its frequency, and then this one is looping through T and the map at the same time, I guess, but the map just contains n characters, where n is the number of characters in S, or like the number of unique characters in S, I guess. And then T is like the same length as S, just plus 1. So we could just say O of n, where n is number of characters in input string. And it doesn't really matter which one, because again, S and T are just the same length. T is just S plus 1, and so that plus 1 really doesn't make any difference. Our space complexity, we just have this hash map that is going to store the characters in S. So that is going to be the same thing, because worst case, every character could, like in this case, right, we have one instance of every character. So then every character is going to be stored in our map. So that's it for this problem. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!